Noli. It's a new killer in Forsaken, and he has many tricks up his sleeve. Except, that won't do, because if you read the title of this video, I have some concern about this long-anticipated killer. I have played this character, and there are several problems with this character that makes this probably the worst killer in the whole game. It is something the Forsaken balancer tried to prove otherwise. Basically, this killer is all about tricks, misleading survivor around him so he can trap them and kill them. He has two passive abilities. The first one is that Noli summons 1 to 3 fake generators on every map, but only 5 are the real generators, and the other generators... So you as a survivor need to figure out if the generator you see is the real deal or a trap. To know if it's fake, just take a look at the generator. See it? Yup, that's Noli face. Other than that, fake generator will play some random glitchy noise, or if you complete one part of it, you will see that you get an EXP amount other than 15 or 18.5, or you get an entirely different currency. Now if you repair a fake generator, you'll gain a hallucination effect, which I will explain later. But if you still fall for fake generator and complete it, this happens. Don't worry, the Noli you see here is just fake from the hallucination effect. As you can see that I'm not dead yet when I'm 0% HP. See the problem here? This is such a cheap trick because it's not that hard to identify a fake generator. Plus, you're not gonna get any damage from fake Noli. But it does reveal your aura to the real Noli. If you and your team got 5 generators done already, you have no reason to repair another generator. This passive ability is pointless against people who can tell the difference. Now the second passive is hallucination. Basically, Noli can inflict the status hallucination to survivor, and there's 3 levels of hallucination. Hallucination 1 makes the timer unreadable, but this barely matters. I think you would focus more on running away than looking at the timer. Hallucination 2 causes the survivors to see fake pizza and fake dispensers. Hallucination 3 will cause fake Noli to summon, which is what happens when you complete a fake generator. But of course, you won't die. Noli can remove your hallucination effect if Noli hits you while you have that effect. Hallucination effect is hidden status effect, meaning you won't see them at all, but you can already tell if you have the effect if you see the timer behaving strangely. These two passive don't do any damage at all, it only reveals your aura and gives you a little bit of annoyance. Okay, well, there's actually more ways you can tell if the generators are fake. I'll show the list here. Pause to read. Now onto Noli's abilities. Its M1 does 25 damage, but it has the same wind-up speed as John Doe and 1X. Meanwhile, Cool Kid does more damage with faster wind-up speed. What? Okay, seriously, why? Noli should at least have the same wind-up speed because unlike 1X, Noli's M1 doesn't give any effect other than removing hallucination from the survivor. At least John Doe having 28 damage makes sense, because the wind-up makes it easier to react. But when it comes to Noli having less M1 damage than Cool Kid despite having slower wind-up, unbelievable! Now looking at the other abilities, this just feels like Cool Kid but worse. There is Void Rush, which is basically walk speed override, but you can steer it, and when you hit someone, they receive 10 damage and get hallucination 2. But hitting anyone that already has hallucination 2 will do devastating 40 damage. But the problem with Void Rush is that it is easier to actually dodge it because there's a louder audio cue and a long wind up. You just don't put yourself in a vulnerable position and you would be basically fine. To properly use Void Rush, you have to hit someone with hallucination 2, so hit anyone with their aura highlighted. The next ability is Nova, and it's basically corrupt nature, but it sticks to the wall and explodes. This does 15 damage to anyone caught in the explosion radius, and pulls them in. Nova is great against camping Dusakar or something, just scare them by throwing Nova at them. Finally, we have Observant, which highlights all generator, including fake ones, allowing you to teleport to them. You can do this to catch anyone off guard. Depending on how far the survivor is from the generator, they get hallucination. Being 20 to 59 stats away gives you hallucination 1. Being 60 to 99 stats away gives you hallucination 2. Being 100 stats away or more gives you hallucination 3. The best counter is to simply just stay close to the generator and hope that that isn't the generator Noli teleports to. Observant is probably the best ability to get closer to a survivor, but because of the visual effects caused by this ability, they probably would try to run as far away as possible from the generator to ensure that they don't get too close. Unless they run into another generator, they would probably get hallucination tree, which easily distracts them if they're dumb enough. Hallucination is great if the survivors you're targeting aren't smart enough. They would look schizophrenic and waste their ability, allowing you to secure a kill. But this assumes the survivors are bad at the game. Just know that fake Noli can only use M1, but not any other ability. So if you're chasing survivor under the influence of hallucination tree, if you use any other ability, it would basically just tell the survivor that you are the real one, so they don't need to waste their stamina on the fake Noli. Noli has slightly faster running speed than John Doe, but it has slower walk speed, which is not good because you can get infinitely looped by a good survivor, in addition to the fact that Noli has no ability that speeds up his running speed, unlike John Doe, which can get speed boost from digital footprint or corrupt energy. But what about Void Rush? Isn't that just speed up? Well, unfortunately, you don't recover stamina during Void Rush, so it's more useful to use Void Rush to cover large distance. If you're gonna use Void Rush at Survivor, you should use Observant first to give as many Survivor hallucination. Then you can try to hit anyone with hallucination highlight with Void Rush. You would be able to land 40 damage on first hit, rather than 10 damage if they don't have hallucination. Also, Void Rush can be countered with Gust Block or Noob Slate Skin, and it's even easier to block Void Rush than Walk Speed Override. Against casual lobbies, Noli would be really great because hallucination would easily distract survivors who don't know any better. But against someone who is way more knowledgeable, good luck! If you're gonna go against pro lobbies, you should be using Cool Kit, unless you wanna get looped to infinity. Noli's early game is similar to 1x. You could Void Rush to survivor spot and start massacring them. But in Last Man Standing, it will be painful if the person you leave last happens to know Noli's weakness. You can see where Noli teleports to, so just run away from it. But if you're tap H, you can do this. Yup, just like that. I wouldn't really recommend teleporting near survivor. Rather, you should teleport to the generator they're running towards, which will absolutely surprise them, giving you more chance to catch up. But if you fail to do this, well, unfortunately, you really only can hope for the best. Try to study every player's game knowledge. Whoever you think is the worst, leave them for last if possible. This is especially important if you're playing John Doe or Noli, if you don't want to get looped around like a madman. The thing I like about Noli is that the Void Star is actually pretty good despite being just a carbon copy of Corrupt Nature. You can stall the survivor a bit, and it can hit multiple people at the same time. Observant is powerful when survivors are too far away from the generator, making them schizophrenic until the hallucination effects run out. What I don't like about Noli is that Void Rush is easy to avoid. I argue you should use it to cover large distance, especially at the start of the game towards survivor spawn, so you can make a surprising sudden appearance. You should only use it against survivors that have hallucination too, which have highlights. Otherwise, use Observant. The two passive abilities are basically useless against players who can see past through hallucination. After all, only real Noli can actually damage you. There is no indirect damage for hallucination. And you can figure out if generators are fake with enough gameplay. Basically, you should only use Noli if the server is bad. So if you see two-time who always seem to land a backstab over and over, maybe you should use Cool Kit instead. And that's everything I have to cover about Noli. I would say this is a fun killer, however, it's not fun being backstabbed over and over, because it's literally just John Doe without any trails, so trick stabbing is much easier. I have encountered many games with Noli, and I must say, it's really funny how many times I keep looping them around, stunning them, and avoiding their Void Rush. Noli is definitely not fun to play with if the survivors are knowledgeable enough, but every pro player will struggle against Cool Kid, which is the most overpowered killer in the whole game. Imagine being able to slow survivor while also being the fastest killer. I just want Noli to at least be more of a threat against even the best player in Forsaken. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to not miss my future Forsaken content. Goodbye.